All right, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Coffee, Tea, You and Me. For nearly 20 years, I've been meeting with entrepreneurs and business leaders every Friday afternoon at 3 p.m., just kind of sharing ideas and concepts that will help them grow their business, their entrepreneurial experience, and the life that they want to live. My name is Coach Powell. I work for Coach Powell Training Development, and I am your host for today. We got a real exciting show for you today. I've got some serious rock stars in the back, and they're waiting to come on to share ideas and information with you all about our topic. It's going to be a great day. Do me a favor. As you're coming on, if you are coming to us for the first time or you haven't been a chance to introduce yourself ever, make sure that you put your name in the chat. Anything that will help us understand who you are, what you're all about. Put that information in the chat. Your LinkedIn, your LinkedIn address, your profile, whatever that is, because I want to make sure I introduce you throughout the meeting. If you haven't had a chance, this post is being show is being broadcast live on Facebook and on YouTube right now. And so if you want to follow us on Facebook or follow us on YouTube, feel free to do that. If you want to subscribe, yes, I really would love it if you want to subscribe. Even more if you want to share the good news and let other entrepreneurs and business leaders know that this is a welcome opportunity for them to learn, to grow, to share information with one another, and to find ways to produce, even in this pandemic world we have to experience and live with, right? And so we've got a couple people that are on the chat today. If you come wherever you're coming from, making sure that you tell me, who you are, where you're coming from, maybe even how you found the show. You might have found it through a Facebook announcement or a LinkedIn announcement, or you might have actually bumped into the recordings of our previous show times, which have been all broadcast, I said again, on Facebook and on YouTube. I'm trying to get my LinkedIn subscription. LinkedIn is playing games with me so that we can broadcast live on LinkedIn at the same time, which will, that's something I look forward to because I love LinkedIn. I use it a lot as a tool for social engagement for so many things. And anybody wants to know, how we do it all and how, I think I grew 80% of my business just through LinkedIn alone, which was, an incredible. I've been using that tool since they first got started. So I have a lot of fun. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a business coach. I help entrepreneurs and business leaders focus on three key things: developing a tremendous amount of energy, focus, and productivity for what they do. My whole job, my life is about performance, making sure that people understand everything they need to perform their game, whatever their game is, at the highest level. It's very, very important because when you can perform at the highest level, then you know that you've given everything you've got to give. You've committed everything you need to commit. You've created whatever you need to create, and you have found a way to be successful. And I think everybody deserves it, especially those of us who decide they want to go into their entrepreneurial bag, right? Figure out, how to do this thing, how to make something happen on their own. And it requires a tremendous amount of energy. It requires a tremendous amount of focus. It requires a tremendous amount of productivity, and you got to be squared away and know how to get it done. You have to have a discipline, procedure, and a practice that you can count on. I am the inventor of a process called the Vision Quest 90 process. And this is like, it used to be 90 days, but I had to stretch it to 120 days. But I trademarked it before I did that. So it's called the Vision Quest 90 process. But the Vision Quest process is really all about maximizing and orienting yourself, figuring out where your special gifts are and learning how to use those special gifts to create the life and the business that you want to create, no matter what they are. So we look at it from a vision point of view. We look at it from goals, mission, task orientation, habits, everything, and we try to figure out a way that your life can be a synergistic whole and you can work together. We do it in 120 days or less. And it's 100% money back guarantee. That is my coaching program, but I do so many other things. I do so many other events. I do so many other relationship building strategies. Everything I try to do, I try to share as much as I can for free with the public, because I just believe that, there's enough things pulling at us and taxing us, and everybody's trying to get in your pocket for one thing or another. There's a lot that you can get from me for free just because I do so much to serve the small business or the small women-owned and minority-owned business community. I am the chairman currently of the Fairfax County Small Business Administration. I run my own company, and I sit on several boards and organizations to help them with fundraising and so on and so forth. And if you're lucky, I may talk to you about some of that kind of stuff a little bit later on. But like I said before, if you like what we're doing in the show, make sure that you like it, you share it, you post it, you love it, hashtag it, whatever you got to do. And there's going to be some good stuff coming up. Today's show is all about relationships. It is the introductory episode that we're going to do as we bring in the 9 steps to mastery, which is a relationship process that I invented and created a long time ago. How do you develop a relationship? Once you first get in a relationship, what do you do from there to make sure? But first, today, we're going to talk about just the warm up, right? We're going to talk about why you should be in relationships in the first place and what you should hope to get from those relationships and how those relationships can affect and improve your lives. And I guess, like I said, my panelists are amazing. You're going to love every single one of them. Pay attention, write it down. If you can't ask questions in the chat, I hope that you will. But if you can't, for some reason, if it's a question that you'd like to ask and for some reason you didn't get to it, I'm sure my presenters will be accessible to you. So let's just make sure that you ask questions as we go along, and I'll pause in the middle of every situation to make sure, or every phase of the discussion to make sure that we're answering questions. If we don't get to the questions, don't worry about it. Post them in the chat. The chat is going to be live on YouTube. It's going to be live on Facebook, even after the show ends. So if you're watching the recording and you want to get involved in this thing, don't feel like, I'm just watching the recording. Go ahead and throw some information in the chat, because people who are participating in it can still engage with you, and we can still get answers for you, questions answered for you well into the future. So don't feel like if you're not watching this live or not participating or not fully engaged while we're live today, that you can't get your questions answered. Because I believe that it's very, very important to ask questions and make sure that you're talking to the right people about the right stuff at the right time, and you never know when that time is. So when you got a group like I'm about to bring you guys, you want to ask questions and you want to make sure that you tax them for whatever attention they're willing to give you, and they're willing to give you a lot because they're volunteering to be here today with you. So pay attention and get involved, get engaged. And I'm going to give you guys a quick little commercial. Then we're going to come back and get this party started. Okay, here we go. Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me. I couldn't tell you how many episodes this is because I've done so many now that I have absolutely lost count. And so we've been doing this online since COVID started. Since the pandemic started and we couldn't go into the restaurants where we like to do this every Friday, we've been doing this live and making sure that, we have no excuses. Now, here's the thing. Since we've been using these wonderful tools, oh my God, so many people have been able to get engaged and so many people have been able to, get involved. I used to sit at the Panera Bread sometimes by myself. I'd sit there with a book and be ready to read, be ready to talk. If somebody showed up, they showed up. If somebody didn't show up, that's cool too, because I got a chance to do my thing. And I'm an introvert. I like having a chance to do my thing. But this is a great thing. This tool has given us an opportunity to go global. So I find speakers and panelists and friends from all over the world, and they get involved and they're excited to share what they have to share with you. The first person I'm gonna bring up today is Miss Nicole Malone. Nicole is a nutrition expert. She's just a fantastic genius about all things involving nutrition. She was talking to us backstage earlier today about some stuff that just kind of blew my mind. I'm like, okay, who knew that was possible, or who knew that was even true? But like I said, I always tell people, when you go to an expert, you're going to get a lot more information that any of us could pull up. And we all believe that we can just Google something and get the best ideas or figure out what that's not true. You really need to work with world-class people who are good at what they do. They care about it. They're passionate about it. And it comes through in how they communicate. So without any further ado, let me bring to you Miss Nicole Malone. Hey, Nicole, how are you today?
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
thanks for being on the show. It really means a lot to have professionals like you to just be a part of our panel and kind of beat up the ideas and the topics that I come up with. Usually I'm sitting here by myself and I'm like, okay, all right, I got to get some high class people around here. If it's just me, people are going to get bored with that after a while, and I got to bring some talent. So it's good. Tell us about yourself, Nicole.
Yeah, so I'm Nicole. I'm a certified nutrition coach. I own Dark Horse Nutrition LLC based here in Northern Virginia. All my services are virtual. My typical client are people looking to lose 50 or more pounds. So I am focused on weight loss with my individual coaching clients. And that is because I too, through my weight loss journey, have lost about that much. At my heaviest, I was pushing 200 pounds, and I'm 5 feet short. So that's a lot of weight to be carrying around. I had sleep apnea, machine and all. So I really focus on so much more than just nutrition. I focus on the underlying causes of their weight gain, their unhealthy relationship with food, by focusing on their mindset, nutrition, emotion, and movement. I believe those are the 4 key strategies to really making lasting behavior and lifestyle change. In addition to my individual coaching, I do offer employee wellness for small and medium businesses, because research has shown that offering employee wellnesses to businesses can boost morale, productivity, decrease employee sick days, call outs, and of course, possibly decrease insurance rates for the employer. So I love to hear from one of you. My website's in the chat that Marvin will pump out to you all at the end. That's
Okay.
yeah.
It's so good to see you. Thanks so very much for coming out. How long have you been in the business?
About 15 months now, but offering nutrition advice for a lot longer than that. But now I just get paid for it.
I totally understand that. I totally understand that. Where did this passion for nutrition come from? Obviously, I understand that you were going through your own journey. All
Yeah.
right. But is there anything else besides that?
Yeah, so I actually thought I was going to become a personal trainer. I've always had a passion for the health and fitness space, but again, through my own journey, I feel like I can make more of an impact on people's lives rather than putting them through a workout in the gym. I can really, really dig deep into what's really going on and work with individuals on a deeper level. So nutrition was the way I decided to go.
That is fantastic. I'm going to send Nicole backstage now, and then we're going to bring on the next exciting guest and presenter. And I'm looking at the private chat right now just to see who am I going to pick. Yeah. I got to do this one. Ladies and gentlemen, I met Amy years ago, and she's been a good friend of mine. I've been she's been a client of mine. I've deferred to her on advice for mortgages and other things that I wanted to do. She is an absolute genius. Right now, she's trying her hand in the public speaking world, and she's performed excellently. She's done such a great job with making sure that people who she speaks to are excited and motivated and moving in the right direction. And she's got like just so much wisdom and so much energy that I'm so glad to bring her to the table. Without further ado, let me bring to you Miss Amy Fuentes.
Hey!
How are you,
How's it
Amy?
going?
Fantastic. Tell us about yourself, Amy.
All right. Well, with a little bit of a shift in perspective, you can move from where you are to where you want to be in all aspects of your life, from your business to personal, your relationships, health, finances. And when you do, something miraculous happens, you guys. You get in touch with an inner voice, and that inner voice helps you to write your life story. And ultimately, you get to become your own hero. Now, let's face it, if you live long enough, you have probably dealt with an obstacle or two throughout your life, whether that is a failed business or a relationship that comes to an end. For me, it was finances. A while back, I was a stay-at-home mom raising 2 beautiful little girls and 2 adorable puppies. My husband John and I had just built and moved into our dream home, and life was fabulous. until it wasn't. One day we woke up and our income was literally cut in half overnight. And our retirement, well, that was completely decimated. And I'm going to be honest, we were not prepared for a financial catastrophe like this. And I hate to say this, but it took a decade, over 10 years for me to come out the other side and realize that that obstacle, that horrific event, that difficult time in my life was actually a blessing because it made me who I am today. And I'm happy to report that I'm much better with my finances. But in addition to that, my children, we raised our children to be really good with money as well. And it goes one step further. I now work with parents of children ages 5 and up to show the parents how to raise money savvy kids. But, let's face it, you shouldn't have to wait 10 years to be able to come out the other side of a difficult situation and be able to see it as a blessing. So now I share my small shifts in perception and perspective with everyone through my YouTube channel, Amy Fuentes, my aha moments with Amy on Facebook, my book, Words of Wisdom, What You Need to Know on the Road of Your Life's Journey on Amazon, in my talks that I give at numerous events, and of course, as a guest on many, many podcasts. And today, I just wanted to share one other thing with you, and that is to tell you that you are one decision away from a totally different life. Decide today to grab that life. Why? Because you deserve it. Thanks so much for your time. I am really, really excited to be here today.
Oh my God, Amy, you are phenomenal. I don't care what they say about you, and they say some horrible things, but I tell them,
Thanks, Marvin.
don't talk about Amy like that. She's a top-notch person. But yeah, it was so great to have you on the show. I really, really thank you for spending time with us. All jokes aside, you are one of the best people I've ever met, and I'm so glad that I've had a chance to, share some time and space with you. And I'm sure my listeners and our guests are as excited as I am to have you on the show and to do what you do. Okay.
Yeah, please connect with me on LinkedIn or any of the social media. I really love to connect and meet people. So I'm happy to do that with your listeners.
And get that book, by the way. I put that link in for the book down there so you guys can see that. If you need to go ahead and check that out, do that. It's everything she's posted. It will be in the chat, and I'm going to continue to post more information throughout the show today. So don't feel like we're getting anything left out. We're not missing anything. We're going to get it all. Okay, we're going to get everything Amy has to share. All right, guys. Thanks so much for coming out, Amy. Next up, oh my God, genius amongst genius. I can't say enough about this professor, this doctor, this absolute gorgeous sister, friend of mine. Mrs. Joanne Roll is amazing, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. Do your thing, girl.
Thank you so much, Marvin. As Marvin said, my name is Joanne Rowe. My title is Dean of the School of Business at Medgar Evers College, City University of New York, the largest urban university in the world, actually. But what I want to talk more about at this point in time is the research that I've been working on with several of my colleagues around the world. This particular session is on relationships. And what I have found in the work that I do is that relationships are key, and building what I call global and worldwide relationships is some of the work that we have been able to do. Our most recent work is a handbook on the future of work and entrepreneurship for the underserved. It's about 15 chapters with about 20 authors from around the globe. Our authors come from India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Kenya, the US and several other countries. And why is that important? Because how we see the world in different lenses and having different voices come to the table is a better way to shape a better normal. And that was done by one publisher and another publisher in the US. That was a UK publisher. Another publisher in the US recruited us and asked us to produce another book. And so what I'll ask that he put in the chat is the link for the call for chapters for sustainability in the future of work and entrepreneurship for the underserved. We believe that the sustainability of the world as it is, with so many having so much and so few having so little, is something that we need to change, and we need to hear more voices in the dialogue. A lot of times when you hear about the future of work, they're talking about technology, they're talking about what's coming and who's driving that, but a little is being said about those who are being driven. And so that is the kind of conversation that we want to inspire and continue. And I hope if you know anyone who's interested in the topic, you would convince them or help them to participate in the call for chapters. Thank you.
That is super awesome, Joanne. How long have you been up to this?
Oh, actually, we started this work in 2016 with two international conferences as a group of authors. We've been working with authors from Chile, Jamaica, Kenya, and some in Tanzania as well. And so the group has been working for about 4 or 5 years, but the work, and it started because we were teaching our students entrepreneurship because many of them could not find jobs. And it's like, okay, if there's not a job out there, why don't you become a job creator and help create jobs in the communities that you come from? So that's how it started. But then when we started seeing the fast pace that technology was changing, we said we needed to create those students and those workforce that could participate in the changes to come. We need to develop them and prepare them in retooling and developing skills that will be needed in the future, not necessarily just the skills that are needed today, because the skills that are needed today may obsolete.
Absolutely. So glad to have you, Joanne. We're looking forward to having a rousing discussion. I got to bring up my brother right now. He's just an amazing, talented author himself, and a professor, and another doctoral not earner. He's not a candidate. He's an earner, right? He's Dr. Joseph Nwoye. So I'll just bring the doctor. Come on in, brother Nwoye. Tell us about yourself.
Good day. As you said, my name is Dr. Joseph Nwoye. I'm a Nigerian national, and I came to the United States when I was a teenager, even though my accent still reveals some things that the biasness we have common, in society still persists. So I've taught in number of universities. I've done, as you said, they can see my work on the site. I don't need to explain those things. But I happen to be a firm believer, as Dr. Ron was saying, who is a good friend of mine. The way we live today is unsustainable. The issues of equity that continues to harm so many people is unsustainable. If you're in good position, I urge you to know that it's not sustainable. What does that mean? It means that you can collectively work for fairness, advocate for fairness, and when you see fairness, everybody will know what it is. But today, what we have are some cliques supporting one another, even when they're wrong. But what I believe is that we're going to do better. Am I still on? Okay.
Yes, you're still on, Joe.
So as I was saying, if you look at my most recent book, it's about the power of engagement. It's about power of understanding. The third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, talked about the head and the heart. Oftentimes, when we see things that frighten us, we either run, fight, or flight. But that's automatic. But when we run, then the head comes in. And when the head and the heart connect, you make logical decision. much more logical decision. And my book is about engagement. Don't criticize your opponent. Actually, your opponent will be a source of your improvement. Hear from your opponent. I don't mean that you compromise your principle stand if you have a principle, which I urge everybody to have. But incorporate the ideas from your critics into yours. And when you incorporate them, you come with better ideas. Like what is happening in US Congress. That's not what that institution was supposed to be, but it's what it is. I think they should read that book to see how to connect with people they disagree with and ultimately enrich one another. So if you have any question for me, I'll be glad to answer.
Fantastic. It's so glad to have you on. I'm going to take you up on it because I got 1,000 questions for you, just to make sure that we're going to use every inch of that brain. All of that's up in there. We're going to use it all. All right. So good to see you. I'm going to make sure we'll bring you backstage and begin our topic for today. Today's topic is literally relationships. Why do you need to be in professional relationships? Why are they important? Years ago, a mentor, a friend of mine, once shared with me that there are 5 things that individuals can do to help each other. And there are 5 basic roles that everybody plays. One role might be an consultant. The consultant is the person who tells you what systems to purchase, what energy to be involved in, what things to get yourself in, and they may actually help you do the work that you need to get done. Then you have your advisor. Your advisor basically just tells you what to do. If you're going to go someplace or do something or be a part of it, they're going to tell you this is the best place to go, this is the best thing to do, this is the best way to go about it, and they're going to give you advice. Then you have your coach. Your coach is going to get inside with you. They're going to get down in there with you. They're going to help shape your behavior, your form, your thoughts. They're going to help you with practice and drills that you learn, the discipline and the habits that you have to learn in order to execute flawlessly whatever you want to do. The next person that comes along in your life is a basic mentor. The mentor is going to be able to share with you the mistakes that they have made and what they have learned about the thing that they're good at, the thing that they're experienced in, the idea, the concept that they're worldly in, they're wise in. They're going to be able to tell you how to gain a piece of that wisdom, right? How to move yourself further on that trajectory. If you have a mentor that hasn't done what you're trying to do, then you're not going to be able to get as much out of the mentor. I suggest you choose a better mentor, right? The last person that can help you is a therapist. The therapist is the role that a person might play, help you look back at the things that you've done and to see what's blocking you from moving forward, what energy, what effort, what thoughts are no longer useful for you. In fact, they're keeping you from making key decisions, from making key moves, from doing the things that you need to do. These are the 5 people, the 5 roles, professional roles, that people tend to find themselves in, and they fit in one of these boxes, usually in almost any iteration. No matter what other titles they have, they're performing those roles. So when you look at professional relationships, these are relationships that are here to help you explore an industry or help you explore a job or relationship or some type of mutual effort. These are teams that you may want to play on. These are groups that you may want to join. These are associates of yours that you may want to have. They're going to fit in 1 or maybe 2 or 3 of those roles at some point in your journey. You have to know where you need help. You have to know, do you need mentorship? You need somebody to tell you what gives you the benefit of their experience so that you have more confidence in what you need to do. Do you need advice? Do you need somebody to tell you what to do because you don't know what to do and they do? And you can trust that their experience and their skill and they're talented enough to give you the right advice. Do you need a consultant? Do you need somebody to get there and sort of do the work for you so that you don't have to get it done? Help you purchase the right systems, help you develop the right strategies, help you move in the right directions. Do you need that? Do you need a therapist? Do you need a coach? Do you need somebody to get down there with you and make sure that you are doing it the right way. You're performing with the best form possible. You've got the right discipline, the right habits, and so on and so forth. Or do you need somebody who basically is your friend? These are all the things that people do for each other. And it's part of understanding socialization and understanding how we as individuals move together with each other. And imagine if we don't have those 5 roles. You know, everything we've all accomplished from the time we were young to the time we are here right now has been because somewhere in those 5 roles, somebody has helped us move forward. A teacher may have given us advice. An athletic coach may have helped us develop our confidence. You know, maybe a karate person, or somebody helped you with the martial arts, or somebody helped you get to where you are right now. They were performing some role in how you got in there. And guess what? You're going to need other people, maybe even people who have already helped you, to move you forward in the next iterations of your life. The new things you need to learn, the new things you need to understand, the new processes you need to develop. You need people. People are social. We are social creatures. Whether we're introverts or extroverts, we need each other. Now, my panel of guests back there, you know, who's backstage right now, who's chomping at the bit, they're listening, they're willing to get in, and I'm going to ask a question. And for those who want to answer those questions, feel free to raise your hand. I'll bring you on the stage. You can tell us something about that experience. But we've discovered in current research, there's tons of research on this, that there are 5 elements to high quality professional relationships. Element number 1 is these relationships help you develop mutual respect for one another. That is a very, very key aspect of good professional relationships. They help you develop higher levels of communication skills, which means you learn to speak differently. You learn to share differently. You learn different techniques that you can use to communicate more effectively when you are in these relationships. Of course, trust is also elevated. Trust is that key element. It's foundational to all human relationships, because without trust, then everything slows down. You know, it's very difficult to get anything done that you want to get done, because you got to check, you got to fact check, you got to analyze, you got to overanalyze sometimes. And if you just trusted, you could just move things forward much faster. You can say yes, you can commit to some idea because you're working with people you trust, right? And then there is the diversity bit. Without diversity, no new ideas show up in a group. You know, you'll be sitting with the same old ideas. That's what they have. What they call the good old boys network, right? These are the people who are stuck in a generation or ideological process that won't allow the new to show up. So even if the environment changes and the political world changes, the social world changes, they can't accept any of that because that's new. And they're stuck in that old thing. So you need diversity in order to break that cycle and embrace new ideas and new concepts. And yes, it's true. Old dogs can learn new tricks. They just have to be open to the learning process. All right, that's where they are. And the last and most important part, I think, of developing professional relationships is the mindfulness of who you are in the moment with the person and who they are to you in the moment with you. Being aware of how you impact one another, what you mean to one another, how you are helping each other achieve relevance and significance by just being with each other is an incredible gift to all relationships. So I know my panelists have had some amazing relationships in the past that have helped them with mutual respect, helped them with communication, helped them with trust, helped them welcome in diversity, and helped them become more mindful. And as they want to share, if you have something that you think you can share in any of those topics, feel free to raise your hand. I'll bring you on the stage, and we can talk it out. Any ideas, guys? All right. First up, Mrs. Fuentes is coming to the stage. Let me see if I can't figure out how to. There we go. There's Amy.
Hey, Well, I have a couple of thoughts that came to mind as you were talking about this. And one thing that really resonated with me that I don't think that you really touched on, but kind of takes it to another level, is that studies show that you are like the 5 people you hang around. So if you have a desire to up level your job or your professional life or your business, then you should up level the people that you're hanging around who are where you want to be, so that kind of like what you were talking about with being a coach and a mentor and trusting and having those common trust and conversations, and being able to have that at a higher level, it will help you up level to get your business ahead of where you are now. Continuing to stay with the people that you are is great to support you, but in order to grow, you kind of need to go outside your comfort zone and go and play with another different group to have some diversity and some different thought processes and ways that you might not even be aware of that can greatly impact your success.
You know, when I was studying, we talked about in the mutual respect portion of those things. That's exactly what they were talking about, is making sure that you are playing with the right people in the right way at the right time, right? There's a reason, there's a season for everybody who comes into your life. And it should be your goal to play with the right people, you know, even if that means that you got to be a little intimidated, you know,
right?
That's okay, because nobody expects you to be perfect. And if anybody who does expect you to be perfect, that's an unreasonable expectation. And it's an unreasonable expectation for you to think someone else is perfect. So I learned in that section about mutual respect how important it is to make sure that you, as you're leveling up, you level true, you know, because everybody you look up to isn't as great as maybe you think they are, you know, because what they've been able to put out there for years is their brand, right? Is their level of excellence, is their level of whatever that is. And they haven't necessarily embraced, or they know they're a human being. They know they put their pants on one leg at a time, but you don't.
I was just going to say that. It's funny. You were like reading my brain waves. My mom always said, you know, when I'm in awe of people like Oprah and people that have really, in my eyes, you know, made it or have been the pinnacle of success in what she, you know, tries and endeavors. But my mom said to me,
wait a minute, Amy. I gotta just don't hold that thought, because Nicole wants a piece of this action. I can tell she's sitting there chomping at the bit.
I just wanted to take it a step further. So I love this topic. I will say it's important to surround yourself with those who want to grow with you and not hold you back as well. So you definitely want to be cognizant of, yes, surrounding yourself with people who are where you want to go, but also surround yourself with people who are where you are, but are willing to go on this journey with you for that extra layer of support. But also what I found through my personal business journey there are people who hold you back, and as tough as it is to distance yourself from them, that's what you're going to have to do, or you're never going to get to the position where you want to grow. So that's where I want to say, to take it a step further, is be cognizant of who you surround yourself with in general, and don't only strive or surround yourself with people who are where you want to go, who are successful in financial. Surround yourself with people who are where you want to be on a personal level and in other levels, if they communicate in the way you wish to communicate. So it's not only about success on a financial aspect. Success can mean so much when it comes to business and personal development.
Yeah, all aspects. And I think that you can also, Nicole, that's really a good point that you made. And I think that you can take the knowledge, you know, let's talk about, you know, you're around a certain group of people and you want to up level or you want to grow, and you go around this other group. Realize that the best way to grow is to teach, is to share. So doesn't mean you have to cut yourself off from the people that you currently love and trust and support. You just means that you go and you get into another group and you bring that knowledge base, and then you teach it to the group that you love and trust and hold so dear, so that you can all, like you're saying, level up at the same time, and you can bring that new knowledge back to them. And it just makes you level up that much faster when you share it and teach it to others.
That is so
Yeah.
true. I was just having a conversation recently with my daughter, and I was trying to share with her, and she was complaining about her friends and associates and what they weren't doing and what she wished they would do and what she wants them to be and all the kind of good stuff. That all that was about her.
Yeah.
And I had to stop her and remind her, like, sweetie, your responsibility is to make a contribution. First, make the contribution that you have. Bring the energy that you need to bring to the situation. Think holistically, not just what you can take, but what you can give. Even with the people who you look up to, there's something for you to contribute if you're just paying attention, and you will find ways to make those contributions. I did a study years ago with mentors, professional mentors, and I asked them the question, thousands of mentors all over the country, what do you love about mentoring? And you'd be surprised some of the things they said, which finally somebody is paying attention to me. Finally, someone is listening to me. My protege, if no one else listens to me, listens to me, right?
You said something interesting there. So listens to me. So oftentimes I'll say networking as an example. When you're networking and you are having a conversation with someone, when you mentioned being present and listening, it's important because the other person on the other side can feel what you're giving them. So if you are talking to someone on a professional level and wanting to get that professional relationship started, be present in the moment. Don't look around the room and think about what you're having for dinner, because the other person, you may not think this, but they can sense that you're not fully engaged. So it is important to be present in the moment. It's important to listen. And I mean, listen, not think you're listening, really engage with them and really be in tune with what they're saying. Repeat back what they're saying before you respond. I understand that you said that you have trouble following so-and-so diet because of X, Y, Z. Can you explain that a little bit more, or can you go in more detail? So it's how you're communicating and how you're listening, and being present in the moment is all encompassing.
Yeah, I like to call that active listening.
Yes.
Nicole.
You have
When
2
you're-
ears and 1 mouth.
So that you listen twice as much as you speak. I actually have that in my book. That's funny that you say that, because I do believe that. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you listen twice as much as you speak. But yeah, if you can be actively listening and acknowledge that the information that's being given to you has been received properly, by not only repeating it back, but also intrinsically giving an example of how you perceive it beneficial to you or a client or a situation, then they really get that bond and that trust going, because they know that they were seen and heard.
Yes.
It's so funny because my geniuses, you guys can't see them, but my geniuses are back in the corner in the back office, and they're back there going, you see them back there, and they're writing and they're collecting in data and information. I can promise you, when they show up, they're gonna show up with, just amazing stuff, because what they're doing exactly what we're talking about. They're listening. They're bringing it all in. They're formulating it. And so whether, for me, I may have a knee-jerk reaction and have something to say, but I got something to say. But, they're like sitting back, they're relaxing, they're like, okay, when it's time, when I bring it, I'm gonna bring it. And that is so important to realize, that it takes 2 type of energies to create meaningful dialogue and create meaningful conversation. And we can't always be all in, right now. Sometimes we got to be patient enough to sit back and wait and pay attention, listen, like I'm sure all of our grandmothers told us, have 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them proportionately. And that's such an important thing, because words can damage us. Words spoken hastily or incorrectly, or information shared incorrectly at the wrong time, can do damage, can cause literally trauma. I know, because I had to deal with a lot of my clients sometimes who come to me and they have issues, And I have to tell them, okay, that's outside of the coaching perspective. That is more in the therapeutic perspective. And I have to send you now to somebody who can help you go backwards, because I don't know how to even ask the right questions so that you can share and I can listen and hear something that we can move forward with, because I am a moving forward person. And so when it comes to dealing with me, all I'm trying to do is help you move forward better, faster. That's my job, right? If you can't do it, then I gotta assume that it's something in your past that is going on there. It's not my game. I'm not a licensed professional therapist. I don't even practice any therapeutic modalities that would suggest that I have an answer to this issue. And so as a professional, I got to back up and go, okay, it is time for you to choose. Look at those 5 roles we talked about, right? It's time for you to get out of the coaching box and maybe look for somebody else who can help you go backwards. That would be the therapy box. And it doesn't have to be a professional therapist, but it does have to be somebody who is empathetic enough to help you unwind and unpack and then see those things. Now, don't suggest that you replace professional therapy with, your best friend or your uncle or your whatever that is. Don't suggest that. But I am saying, because when you're paralyzed and you just can't move, you need professional help. And that's usually the time when it's like you just can't move. All right, at this point, there's no family member who's going to be able to do this for you, because they're biased. They're not going to be objective. You need somebody who's objective, who's professional, knows how to do this, and knows how to dig in deep. All right, Joanne and Joseph, I'm calling you off the bench. You guys have been, chilled out for a minute now. I know you have something to add to the party, so let us know what you're thinking. Go for it.
Joseph, you go first.
I thought that Emmy and Nicole pretty much nailed it. And that's where I think that more people should go. Trying to feed off from ideas of one another, especially ideas that may be coming from people who oppose your view. Because the people that oppose your view, as I believe either Emmy or Nicole said, used five of them, people like you go and you're gonna be going like a sheep. Things outside that lane that band you together will be outside your realm of, and that's why diversity is so crucial, that those who negate it, companies who negate it, they will die a natural death. There's no question about it. Because the knowledge and the innovation and ability to infuse, which essentially defines America, is sustained whether you are working as an individual or you're working as a business person. Engagement and generating ideas will get you away from making disastrous decisions. I hate to say this, but if you look at Taliban, they are now controlling and doing even more horrible things than they had done before. If people were able to engage, probably all the lives that gone, especially women and children that don't have choice, the catastrophe that is caused. And that's similar in every aspect of our lives. The power of engagement is unbelievable. And those who negate it are missing the point. And if you want to know historical part of it, you go to cooperative organizations. Cooperative organizations stem from the fact that individuals felt like when they come together, generate their ideas, their resources, etc., they do things that they could have never dreamed of as individuals. And that fits into the narrative based on what I've listened to. I thought that you guys did very well. And for Anne, Joanne, whom I know very well, she talks about sustainability. Ladies, if we want sustainability, we have to come out from our comfortable environment, domain. First, be honest, be principled. And if you are principled and somebody critique you, don't call the person an evil person. Listen. There's a work I'm looking at now by Heston. I can't remember his name. He kind of cited Jefferson, cited Holmes, cited number of people, and different logical sequences they are using to do things. And if you follow those logic, you find out that I don't know what to say about human beings, but I can say by and large, human beings are ruining the joy we ought to be having on earth. If you are poor and you are not connected with the right people, it doesn't matter what you know. It doesn't matter what you can contribute. If you are not in the right clique, those things go to waste. But you can have somebody who doesn't have a clue in the right place. Say, for instance, former president Trump, he will get people to go through nomination to be judges, people who had not tried cases. God help us. You're talking about expertise. The coach was saying that you have to get expertise to do the work. If you have people who are not experts, you get people because they know you, because they're your friends, family members, nepotism, stuff like that. It doesn't solve the problem. You're actually helping to create more problems. I guess I'm going to stop here.
Outstanding. I knew that he was going to bring the heat. I told y'all. Any other follow-up discussion? I'm going to go, and there is a quote I'm going to share with you from one of our guests, and it's a very poignant quote. My friend David says, he shares this quote from the Bible, and the reason why I'm posting it is for two reasons. One, not only I'm a believer, of course, but the other reason is it rings true. We are a created people. Whether you believe that we were created in a flash of an instant, or you believe we were created through evolution, we literally are created. And we are the most powerful mammals on the planet. We have the biggest brains. We have the biggest ability to do amazing things. We can do what no other creature on the planet can do. And so therefore, we have the responsibility to take care of this planet and each other. And if we do that well, then we won't have anywhere near the issues that we have. But if we allow others to believe that somehow we are not all culpable and all responsible, in my point of view, I think that that's a way of denying the truth. Right now, I'm on the task committee to rename some of the streets that are here in Fairfax County that have been named after Confederate heroes. Now we've named streets for people that were against the Union, for slavery, and for a type of labor economics that did not serve us well at the time, which is why the war was fought. These are the facts. We named them after those people to celebrate and honor those people. After the war, as a matter of fact. So the war is still being fought by people who still believe those people should be honored in such a way by naming our streets and monuments and capitals and so on and so forth after them. Now, I'm not saying that anybody's name is bigger or better than those names. I'm just saying those names are the names we tend to not honor when human beings, there's no Adolf Hitler Way in Germany. There's no Goebbels, museum in Nazi Germany. Or that at that time, there's no honor, there's no celebration of that moment of their history. and they lost. Now, I'm sure there are many other examples, but it's not like we go when we talk about trying to be holistic and we're trying to be inclusive and we're trying to really understand how to move forward. We can't move forward by holding on to the past. We have to let something go.
I have one thing to say with that, and I know this isn't a political discussion or anything, but this does go towards relationships too. You
I'm
have
wrong.
to be,
You'll never hear me say it's not a
yeah,
political discussion.
yeah,
It always is a political discussion. It always is a social discussion. It always is an economical discussion. And these are discussions we need to have in order to grow, in order to understand each other, in order to relate to one another. So please share whatever you want to share.
So the only thing I will say is I am one who is not a believer in the statues and letting go of the past, because the past is the past. The past happened. The past, without the past, we wouldn't be where we are today, right? You learn from where you came from and you try to be better moving forward. And that's the same with relationships, tying it back to relationships. You may not always agree with a person personally or professionally, but it's important to find a middle ground, not convince someone to believe what you believe or to hold the same opinion, agree to disagree, if you will, and be willing to accept someone else's opinion and beliefs and not be so dismissive. Try to be more understanding when it comes to being inclusive and what their belief systems are. And I think that would make for a better way moving forward when it comes to relationships, as well as getting along with people with the dynamics that are going on in our country now. But when it does come to history happened, things happened, whether you believe the things that were created many years ago should no longer be. That's your opinion. That's whoever believes in that's opinion. But I think before that happens, make sure you understand why you're doing the things you're doing. I think a lot of the younger generation who were tearing down the statues, I don't believe they fully understood what they were doing and why they were doing. So that goes with relationships. Do your research and try to fully understand where the other person is coming from, what they're trying to say, why they believe the things they believe, why they're doing the things you're doing. And that would not only make your relationship better, that'll make you a better person as well, because you always have to be growing. And you have to be growing with those around you, whether you are believe the same things or are on the same level or not. So that's all I wanted to say on that topic.
I think you're absolutely right, Nicole. And when the truth is told about how we choose to do the things that we choose, even historically, we have to understand that truth and speak that truth and listen to that truth. And I remember I was in this debate with a lot of very, very smart people, very, very diverse group of people, all open, all listening, all caring to hear each other's perspectives. And some believe that if you take a name off of something, you're rewriting history and you're erasing. That's another thing. They believe that you can erase history. I don't know that you can erase anything that happened. It happened. But the question you have to ask yourself is, does it need to be shared just because it happened? Because a lot of things happen that aren't shared. Is it not history? Of course it's history. It happened, but it's not necessarily shared because it's not useful in the current dynamic. So, because we all have a history. Like we're in the few generation. I don't want to evolve this conversation to something totally ridiculous, but we are in a generation that can do the things we can do right now that can never be done in the past. Today, right now, Joseph has a voice. It's being recorded for posterity's sake. Right now, you're on mute, Joseph. You have to take yourself off of mute. Go ahead. Now you're good.
Nicole, again, you made a great point. what I would think of is nothing but what my 5th grade teacher told us. He came one early morning on Monday, I remember very vividly, in 5th grade, and said, students, we're going to talk about history. He proceeded, what is history? Very shortly stated, I quote him here, history is the study of past events. He proceeded by asking the second question, why do we study history? To avoid the mistakes of yesterday and to sustain the good things we had done, period. Now, my issue as an educator, right now you see what is going around the world, or particularly the United States. You see what is happening in Canada, where they are digging Native American kids that we are buried in graves. People want to sort of bury those things and not to discuss it. Today, we see superintendents being fired because they want to teach critical race theory. What is it? History. I have some colleagues that I had gotten into some debates. My position is, first, we have to be principled. We have to be honest with one another. If we lack any of those, the rest is noise. It's not going to get us anywhere. And more importantly, to that particular subject, it's a very sensitive subject. A lot of people, when they hear red skin, they be jubilating, looking at all these things, reflecting Native Americans are the worst. The question then becomes, when we are doing this, do we think of Native Americans? I don't know if you've read the book titled New Jim Crow by Michelle, I can't remember her last name. He chronicled the pain, anguish African Americans have gone through, generation after generation. Obama stated the same thing. Eric Holder, former Attorney General, pointed out that her parents had to do some work before they come out to the street because of racism, pervasive, ingrained in the minds of some people. On Monday, I'm going to be doing presentation in Boston on why do things happen the way it happens? Why do people lie? Why do we have Congress people preventing people from voting? And yet we turn around and tell other countries, look, we are democracy. Oh, become like us. Hypocritic behaviors. We have to cut those out. So to end this, I say this. I see your point when you look at those monuments. Just as I illustrated with red skin, there are people who go through those things. Every day they go through so much anguish that we cannot explain in words. And oftentimes, these are people who cannot speak, who have no voice. That's why my platform, SDIG, is devoted to those who don't have voice, regardless of their views. And that is to epitomize the founding fathers, to speak.
That's so good. Thank you so much, Joe. That's amazing. I knew this panel was going to be amazing. I knew it was going to be amazing. All of you all are just incredible. Joanne, you want to throw something in here? I see you. I know you're relaxing back there.
Yeah, I just want to say that it has been a great dialogue. I have enjoyed it. I just want to add a little bit to the end of Joseph's statement. Okay, I'm an economist by training, and the data, the facts state that the wealth gap between blacks and whites is more now than it was in the start of the civil rights. So if we continue to do what we've been doing before, we're not going to get the outcome and results. We have got to find the innovations. We have got to find the ways to do it differently such that we get a more sustainable outcome. And I just want to say, as it relates to context and culture, a lot of times we go into other countries thinking that we could do what Americans do and disregard their tradition, disregard their culture. I think there's some very big examples of what happened with large corporations as they went into China, as they went into some places in Asia and Africa, about not understanding the culture of people. I'm going to say this last thing and I'm going to be quiet. In 2016, 2017, we took a group of our students to about 10 or 15 countries so they could understand that just because the way they do business here in this country is not necessarily the way people do business in other countries. That was a mind-blowing opportunity for those students because some of the students had never been out of Brooklyn, much less out of the country. And what they understood that their competitors in a lot of these places are lean, mean, and they work hard for those entrepreneurial opportunities, and they work hard for the global job market. And that's why a lot of the opportunity that's available now is going all over the different places. So I think it's very important to understand context, culture, and subculture, especially the subculture in the U.S. and as Joseph was just talking about in places in Canada and other places where they have marginalized communities.
One of my good friends just made this statement. I posted, it said history when written and preserved accurately is empowering. And I would say, and this is something I've learned as a result of all the study we've done here about relationships. Relationships are preserved through all of our senses. That we can see you now, right? We can see your facial expressions. We could see what you're thinking or that you're thinking, and that body language communicates so much more than maybe your words might communicate. And I think we've leaned a lot on the written word as an opportunity to truly understand and feel one another. But we have so many other senses. And I wanted to say this when we were talking about listening earlier. Listening is not just about hearing. It's about seeing. It's about feeling. It is about truly using all of your senses to gain an understanding of where somebody is, who someone is, what they may be really trying to communicate, and what is necessary. Now, just because we understand each other doesn't mean we get to pounce on each other.
Yeah, it's funny, Marvin, saying that. I just wanted to jump in because some of the things that you all are saying are just so accurate and so on the money and are such great examples of how we can communicate and have conversations even though we don't necessarily see eye to eye. And I think that people can have those conversations and have those relationships even though they come from diverse backgrounds and diverse beliefs. When they have the conversations, number one, from a place of a 5 or below, your emotional level is, typically a 1 or a 2. And when you're screaming out of control, it's like at a 10. And if you can keep your emotional state below a 5, then you can actually communicate, number one. And the other thing that I wanted to say was something that Nicole had said, and that is when you lean in and instead of trying to prove your point, be curious as to what the other person thinks and why. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them. Doesn't mean you have to support them. Doesn't mean you have to rally for them. But being curious as to why they think the way they do can help you expand and grow as well. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but at least you can see it from another perspective instead of having blinders on. And we take the blinders off and we come at each other from below a 5 and we're both curious as to each other's beliefs and thoughts, then the communication and the relationship flourishes.
Yeah, we all come from different backgrounds too. Like it's not just a black and white thing or a race thing. We all come from various diverse backgrounds. I come from Camden, New Jersey, which I guess back then would be considered the hood, if you want to say that. And my husband's from Boston, Massachusetts, which is Prepville. So although we both are white, we both grew up very differently. I grew up, I fought as a kid because it was not a good area. And he did not. He grew up with Catholic school education. I grew up in an urban public school. So I would just take it a step further, and our diversity and our backgrounds and what makes us different is so much more than what you see on the outside. You never know what the person has gone through. You may look at me and think maybe I grew up in a great area. I did not. So you never know where the person came from. So it's taken that into account too, and respecting the person and not be so quick to jump to conclusions.
And I think that's very, very important. Exactly what you said. When we talked about mutual respect, it is a critical aspect of truly trying to understand where someone else is coming from and being careful with how you respond. Mm-hmm. Because again, your response can be damaging, whether you know it or not.
I say all the time, you can't unsay something. You can't unsay something. You can't take, when you say, "Oh, I'm sorry," I take it back. Once it's out of your mouth, you can't take it back. The damage is done. You can try and move past it.
Right.
But the damage is done. So being cognizant and aware of your words, because words sometimes and in many cases are almost more damaging than a physical punch in the face, because they last so much longer internally, because many of us internalize those words that we are told and that we hear. So I love the fact that you were saying, Marvin, to be really cognizant and aware of the words you're choosing to use when you're having those conversations. I
think that, and I want to ask you, my panelists, so we can get a little bit more. I love this topic, but we want to move back, in line with the current conversation. Has anybody ever developed a trusting relationship with someone that was so different from them? And if you look back on your life earlier, you would think, I would never have developed that relationship. Has that ever happened to you? And do you want to discuss that? Would anybody be willing to discuss that? Go for it, Joanne. What happened?
Okay, so Pakistan. I was in Pakistan in April, and honestly, it was one of the best trips I had. But I had been developing this relationship with this other professor for about 2 or 3 years. I did a presentation at Oxford. He was there. He was doing a presentation, and we kind of followed each other. What has happened over the years, and that's why it takes time to understand their culture, because in their culture, women have a very different place. But you can't judge a person just by their culture. You have to get to know them, to get to understand, and they live within the context of their culture. So what he's doing within the context of his culture, I get it. But how he treats me as an individual and how I treat him, we've developed a very mentor-mentee relationship. And even though I'm on medical leave at home, when he came from Pakistan about a couple of weeks ago, he said he wanted to come and visit me. And on Friday, he came to my house away from Brooklyn. So that's an hour and a half from where I live on the Jersey Shore, to see me. And it's because we developed a friendship in spite of the politics, in spite of the race or the differences. It was based on mutual respect and understanding. And I understand when I go to Pakistan that I can't be dressed any kind of way. I get that. And he understands when he comes here, he has to fall within certain culture and context. But we were still able to develop a genuine friendship in spite of our differences, because we both had so much in common.
So did that shock you? Or how did you feel about that, Joanne?
Well, it was different because, I had done a lot of work with India, with the people of India, and a lot of work with the people of Bangladesh. But honestly, some of the most genuine relationships have come out of Pakistan. And those of you who know, it's a Muslim country, and I am definitely a Christian. So you wouldn't be expecting the Muslim country to, be treating you because everything we hear in propaganda about, some of the things in the politics is negative and not positive. That's why I say you really have to get to know the people and to understand. He may do some things inside of his culture that are different here, but when you get to know a person's heart, when you get to know their soul, then you can make some real informed decisions. And I'm not going to say everybody's going to allow you to get that close to them, but those few relationships that it helped me to change my perspective of Pakistan. I mean, and they want me to come. I mean, I was there in April. They want me to come back in November. My knee is not going to be well enough, but I will be there next April. And it's because we developed this relationship.
You and I got to talk about rehab, because I got to get mine done. We got to talk about rehab. Anybody else have an example of a relationship that they developed a tremendous amount of trust from somebody that they would not believe they would develop this kind of relationship with in the past? Go for it, Joseph.
Well, I have developed a couple of them.
Just tell us one quick one, Joe.
Okay, the one quick one is someone whom I dedicated my book to. He happened to be one of my students. This is a white guy, like 6'4", and I took them from predominantly white school and put them in predominantly urban school. And when they first arrived, it was, why are these guys doing this? Oh my God. 2 days later into the relationship, it became, that's my kid. These were student teachers. That's my kid. These were black, brown, and mostly white students. The relationship that was developed is just unimaginable. To the point that one of my student teachers tried to connect the dad with one of the teachers who he developed really regard for, wishing to learn from the person, didn't want the person to go away, wanted the woman to be or to replace her mom because her mom was not in the picture. But Mr. Mel from West Virginia, one of the best people I've ever encountered in this world. He was my student, but he was able to relate. And I think I'm different. Perhaps I was groomed where I was with everybody. And then I went to predominantly white school. And I saw the goodness in all people. The problem is our divisions in communities, in families, and people who lie about their true belief. As I said in my work, we have artificial walls, and it divides people on basis of race, on basis of economics. Like Nicole said, her husband and herself. I don't know Nicole, but obviously, with understanding, they have good relationship. That is what I urge people to be doing. Above all, be honest. Don't lie. Don't just say you cannot smile and walk away because the pain is there. If the pain is there, if you don't solve it, you're contributing to know better tomorrow. Maya Angelou said, when we know better, we do better.
There's a phrase that some of you all might be familiar with. Be quick to hear and slow to speak. I don't know if you ever heard that from anywhere. But, I try to incorporate those thoughts into everything I do because I know not only am I a natural introvert, right? So I really, this kind of energy we're putting out today takes me there. I'm going to have to go have a drink afterwards, right? But I know it's necessary in order to get the results for the listening audience, because we have small businesses right now who feel like they're alone, who feel like they have no voice, who feel like they have no opportunities throughout this pandemic to come together, to relate to one another, to share with one another, to actually develop this higher level of professional relationship we're talking about. And it's not true. In fact, the technology allows us to do so much more, so much faster than we could have before. But we have to do what Nicole has said and what Joseph has said, is be honest, be authentic, speak our truth without fear that it's too political or it's too this or it's too that. That expression that you don't share in a meaningful, powerful way ends up reverting back on you, and it turns into repression. And then you start to see that, that repression is caused by a system, and you're going to call that oppression. And next thing you know, you're arguing like, oh, I'm not getting a fair shake. I'm not doing, but are you expressing? Are you giving it all? Are you contributing what you should be contributing? Because here's my belief: when people know what you need, they can rise to the occasion and give you what you need. They can't help it. They want to. We all want to be better and help each other be better. The problem comes when we allow the trappings of what we think we see to get in our way, and really try to truly understand the need, and try to truly understand where each other's coming from, and do what we can. We need to do what we can to get into the flow with each other. And I know I'm using psychological terms that's for a different discussion. But it's important when you talk about relationship building. You have to seek and find ways to connect. You have to seek and find ways to develop understanding. And that requires patience. It requires not just listening, but being interested, being inquisitive, actually caring enough to want to know what somebody else might be feeling or thinking. And by the way, you can't cut feelings out of this. It is impossible to disconnect human beings from feelings. I don't care how rational and objective you want to be, we're always feeling. In fact, studies show we make almost 87% of our decisions are emotional decisions. Even the most rational of us make emotional decisions, because at some point we just get tired of analyzing it and we make a choice. And because we have to make a choice. The time is up for us to stand on the wall and not make a decision. We got to make a choice, and that's what happens, right? I mean, has anybody ever put in a position where you didn't want to make a choice, but you had to make a choice anyway? Try doing that without emotion and see what happens. See if you can be objective in that moment where you feel pressed to the wall and you have to make a decision. It's not human for us to feel Vulcan in an emergency situation, because that's when our brain is supposed to rescue us, and we're supposed to make that knee-jerk reaction that says fight or flee, because freezing is not an option. But we might do that too, because we can't do anything else. So understand that we're emotional creatures, and relationships matter, and we have to give ourselves the space. I hope this talk has been helpful to our listening audience. I know a lot of people have logged on and shared some ideas. I don't see any questions from the audience or from anybody else, and so I'm looking for any questions. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We have an excellent group of entrepreneurs and business leaders in our panel today. They're ready and rocking and ready to answer any questions you have. I got a question. I know I asked one question already, but I'm gonna take executive privilege and give myself another question. We all talked about the importance of diversity, and I have to admit, when I was young and a professional, I could not, for the life of me, understand how diversity could matter, because I thought that if you surround yourself with people, you involve people that don't look like you, that don't think like you, how are you going to get anything done? Because you're never going to agree on anything. That was my rational thought, that I had. And people started talking about diversity back in the 70s and 80s, and I was like, this is a ridiculous notion. I don't even know why we're talking about it. We don't even need it. But now that I'm older and wiser, I recognize that it's important to have other perspectives on everything. When you don't have other perspectives and you're limited to just your perspective, that's a limitation that will cause you to make bad decisions. And so I don't know how many of you all have benefited from diversity or other people's thinking and other people's perspectives. But if you have, especially in the business sense, I'd love to hear, maybe what you have experienced when it comes to that. And I'll tell you a quick story just for my sake, just for me, just while you're getting warmed up, right? um, when I first got to Northern Virginia, some 20, 21, 22 years ago, I met a gentleman by the name of Arthur Frantzreb. Arthur Frantzreb is an author. He wrote a book called Not on This Board, You Don't. And the book was about board development. And it turns out that Mr. Frantzreb was a genius in fundraising and charitable development for organizations. And I was just starting to study charitable giving and planned giving, which is a function of philanthropy, understanding how philanthropic opportunities work and philanthropic financial opportunities work, most importantly. And so I was just beginning my studies of those things, and I met Dr. Frantzreb. I was in a networking function called the Consultant Consortium, and he was one of the consultants, one of the oldest people in the room. And he listened to me carefully, and he decided for himself he wanted to reach out to me and talk to me personally, and we did that. He invited me to come to his house in Arlington, and then he told me who he was, and I went. Like, I don't know why this old Jewish guy wants to talk to me. Right? I couldn't imagine it. But he said he wanted to share some ideas with me because he heard that I was interested in charitable giving and understanding what charitable giving was all about. And I did not know he was one of the nation's premier experts in charitable giving at the time. But he reached out to me and invited me to his home. And I went to his home and I sat down with him, and he introduced me to his world. And I found out that he led the first endowment contract for Cornell University back in the 40s, the first $90 million endowment fund that was ever happened by Cornell University, ever have any university anywhere. He was the leader of that particular process. And he told me that, everybody thinks that charitable giving is about a handout. It's about the charities asking for a hand and asking a handout. But I want to encourage you to think about it differently. I want you to think about it as an opportunity. And he said the 501c3 licensure, or the 501c3 designation for an organization, is a license to inspire the masses to share what they have with those who don't have. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. It's about contribution, not what you can take, but what you can give. And my life was changed by that old Jewish man who I would not even imagine would want to spend time, effort, and energy with me. I'm 6'5". I'm African American. I look like a basketball player or a former football player. When I walk in a room, people go, "I wonder who he played for," because I got the gray hair now. When I didn't have the gray hair, they wondered who I was playing for. Now they wonder who I might be playing for. And I always had that, and I'm not even close to having been a professional athlete and at that level on any teams or anything like that. But that's the aura I carry. I understand that. But things aren't always what they seem. This little white Jewish guy, God rest his soul, is a person that pushed me forward in my career in ways that no one else had done to that moment, because he just spent a small amount of time with me correcting my thinking and helping me learn how to think differently about who I was and what I was doing and what we all can do better, which is make a contribution. So having said that, has anybody ever had experienced a diversity moment like that in your friendships, in your relationships with people who have just led you to a new level of thinking?
I just want to say that was a beautiful story and so well told, Marvin. I think that, what a great example of how you were open to somebody, sharing that. And like what I said when I introduced myself about that small shift in perception and perspective can make a huge impact on your life. And that was such a beautiful story to, as an example of that. I'm still thinking of a really good one for me, but I'll let anybody else jump in while I think.
So when you think about this, I mean, there are people in all of our lives. They have helped us. They have moved us along by either giving us information. Maybe they just gave us a little bit of encouragement. Maybe they helped us, like I said, shift their thinking. But that's what we're here to do for each other. And the last thing I want to share with you about developing professional relationships is this. I totally believe that every single person I meet is a gift. Every single person has something special that I'm supposed to get from meeting them. I have gotten a ton from meeting you all today. And I'm so proud and glad to have had the opportunity to spend this time with you in public. And I want to share that with you, that it means a lot. I'm sure it means a lot to the listening audience, those who listen to this later and those who are engaged right now live. It's important that we spend these moments in contribution. And for the next 9 weeks or 10, we're going to be talking about developing professional relationships. We're going to talk about the soup, the nuts, the bolts, the soup, the everything we can throw in to really, really help people understand how important it is. Because, I got some statistics to share. Because the fact is, you're going to be 9 times more successful in your life if you learn how to develop professional relationships correctly. 9 times. It's not about goals. Goals get you 7 times more successful. But if you want to be truly, tremendously successful, you must learn how to build professional relationships and do it exceptionally well. If you do not, you will not have the trust, the communication strategies, the diverse mindset that you need to have, the mutual respect, to learn how to get it, learn how to share it. You simply won't be able to be as communicative as you need to be in order to grow. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Growth. We all have to do it. We all have to, if we don't, then we're a part of the problem. If we're not growing, because as the human family is growing, if we're not growing with it, then we're actually part of the slowdown. We're part of the disruption. And I don't think nobody on my panel wants to be a part of the disruption. We want to grow forward. We want to move things forward. And we're people that all of our lives and everything we do is about moving people forward. So let's continue to do that, guys. I really had a great time hanging out with you. I don't have any questions from the audience for some reason. And so I'm going to let you guys go. I really thank a lot of our audience members out there. Let me give a couple shout outs. My girl Nancy's out there. Nancy's she's an empath, and she's also very, very, very plugged into intuition, and she's a genius when it comes to that kind of stuff. Good person to reach, good person to know. Emmanuel Biederman is out there. I met Emmanuel on LinkedIn. He and I have been sharing information back and forth. He's a great person. I do a lot of relationships, by the way, through LinkedIn. LinkedIn is crazy if you know how to use it. If you're not scared of it, it's hard to be scared of something and then use it to the best of its ability. And so I always tell people, when it comes to embracing new technology, just drop the fear and jump in, because that's where you're going to learn. You're going to learn from being courageous enough to just jump in. Joanne, I know you're hurting and you're in pain. I know you're relaxing, so I'm not going to force you on camera unless you want to be. If you do, just raise your hand and I'll throw you up here. But I see you back there, sister girl. You're a soldier. You're hanging in there. I love you for it. All right. She's saying she's cool with where she is right now, so we good. Is there any last minute words for the good welfare as we log off? If you're the guest audience, on the panel, if you want to hang around backstage after I kill the show, don't worry about it. Please do so. We'd love to just to chop it up with each other. If not, don't worry about it. You can get on out of here. Joe, you had something you want to say in the last minute? You on mute, Joe?
I want to say thank you for hosting this excellent group. I had asked a question, and my question was, do you intend to continue with this type of discussion? If I have anything to do about bringing people and working for better tomorrow, this is something that will be taking place across the nation, all the schools, everywhere, to undo the things the society has done, and people kept quiet instead of tackling difficult issues. Say, for instance, educational issues. We are still having students like the type I have. They bring some students who cannot operate at 7th grade level and put them in college with the academic rigor that will be required, and they cannot compete. And some people latch into this issue of academic gap. The academic gap, who established it? Why is it there? Provide everyone foundational grounding they need. Everyone will succeed. There's something we call prerequisites. If you take somebody who has not taken elementary math and put the person to do calculus 3, the result is predictable before the person begins. You can't take somebody who hadn't taken accounting 1 and take the person to do accounting for corporate decision making. The answer is predictable. So why do we let that happen? Why do we let politicians off the hook? Where some schools maybe spend, Nicole, sorry, I'm going to say this. According to my research, there's a place in New Jersey where a child spent $72,000 per year. And then you go to the other side, they may be divided by river. It's like $7,000 per child. Don't we know that is wrong? What are those in position of power doing? They act like they don't know. They're the ones that are creating that problem. So until that wall, what I call artificial walls, are broken, and people honestly see the problem, address the problem, like when George Floyd was killed, it was so emotional because I've been teaching the course diversity. I taught it up to PhD level. What I found was that people don't know. And when you expose people to know one another, rather than the lies, misconceptions we tell about one another based on those artificial walls, and people tend to what I call belief formation. When you're born in an environment. You don't have choice. You live, you eat what they give you, you drink what they give you, you listen to the ideas, you take it. And for me personally, who came from parents are considered the best in the world, I lost them 5 years ago. They taught me how to deal with people. It doesn't require the walls. Be honest. When you see problem, however difficult it may be, address it head on. And when you do it, if you're a Christian, you know that you are doing the right thing. If you're a Muslim, and true Muslim, not those who purport to be Muslim, but they are working under other premises, when you connect and work, you see that good things can happen, that we are by nature good. I believe that human beings are by nature good. But for
That's
whatever
the thing you mentioned, Joe, and you're right about that. It's, people who don't believe that we're by nature good seek to control, divide, and create issues with people, because that's how they stay in power. Frederick Douglass said it best: power concedes nothing without demand. The demand we should be making is the demand for the information so that we can be informed enough and educated enough to make the good decisions. And that's why, Nicole, everything is political. Because we exist inside a politic. We exist inside a social system that informs us or doesn't inform us based on what it needs to stay alive. If the systems tell us, everything, then we are empowered to make changes because we can control the system if we have the information. And yes, they have the public access channel where they share all of the wonderful deliberations back and forth in Congress and so. But who listens to that? Who's paying attention? Because we were told it was okay to separate civic responsibility from political action, from social responsibilities, from business. We separate all these things that way we can pay attention to be tunnel vision to what we do and nothing else. And then when everything else suffers, we go, what happened? Didn't we elect people who were honest, who were good, who were trustworthy? We might have, but we didn't check on them. And that's kind of what I think we have to do. We have to pay attention to each other and to everything else in order to make good decisions. And if we don't, we ask these questions like, well, how could this happen? It happened because the people weren't paying attention. That's always the case, as far as I can see, because of course, hey, I've only lived here 56 years, 55. I'll be 56 this May, right? So it's 50, I just turned 55. I've been here 55 years on this planet, trying to pay attention to as much of it as I possibly can, and I haven't come up with a whole bunch of wisdom, but my 55 years worth of wisdom has served me pretty well, and I think it's important that we do that. We pay attention, and we stop trying to separate. We can't talk about that because it's politics. Can't talk about that because it's sex. We can't talk about that or sexual orientation. We can't talk about that because it's a third rail for somebody. Everything is a third rail for somebody. If we don't talk about the things that are important for us to talk about, then we leave our children ignorant. We leave ourselves ignorant. And I don't think that's what they would want. I know that's not what they want because I've studied Gen Z, and they want to know everything. They want access to everything right now. They don't want to wait. They don't want to be patient. They want it now. If they can't Google it, then that's a problem. And so part of creating this kind of content is creating something they can jump into right now and go, all right, let me pay attention to my elders for just a minute. Maybe if they just watch 3 minutes of this dialogue, it may help somebody go, oh, wow. There are people who actually care and thinking about who we are and where we're going. Even if it doesn't seem like it by our bosses or our parents or whoever, just teachers, that's not necessarily the case. So I just think that I'm thankful for the dialogue. I'm thankful for each and every one of you. I appreciate you tremendously. I can't say enough about it. And I'm so glad that you did it. Hopefully you want to do it again. We're going to be doing this for the next 10 weeks. 9 or 10. I don't know exactly what, because I'm sort of flying by the seat of my pants, but not. So it just depends on how far the discussion goes. We brought up all the points I wanted to make sure we mentioned today. You guys, just off the dome, and I knew you would, shared every single point that I have written down here on my piece of paper that I wanted to make sure that we talked about. And so I don't have to go back and reiterate it all. You already put it out there. The most important things about professional development and developing professional relationships is really those 5 things: learning how to trust, learning how to be mutually responsible and respectable for each other, and communicating effectively. That's a tough one because we all want to share something that we want to share, but do we want to hear what needs to be heard?
Stuff bad.
Okay, I'm gonna let you guys go. I had a great time, and we've been at this. This is the longest show we've done. I'm gonna kill the live feed. I don't have any questions from the audience, so I'm sure they got enough of us. And then if you guys want to hang out and chit chat and talk, I'm all open to it. I sure would look forward to it. I wish you would, but if I understand that you got to go, you got better things to do in your life, to move on. This has been Coffee Tea, You and Me. It's been a great show. My guests, Amy Fuentes, Nicole Malone, Joseph Nwoye. Is that correct?
You should be teaching people how to say my name.
And Mrs. Joanne Roll. It's amazing audience, amazing guests, amazing, fabulous. I'm gonna add Joanne here just to say goodbye. You can wave goodbye, Joanne.
Bye-bye.
And we'll see you all backstage. And this has been a great show, a great group of guests, a great group of panelists. And I'm so excited to be able to bring this to you guys. I hope you feel empowered by it. And please don't keep it a secret. Share it with your other entrepreneurial friends out there. We do this every Friday, and hopefully we'll always be able to do something like this. God bless you, and I wish you the best of luck We're going to end the broadcast right now. If I can point, there we go. End the broadcast.